you should be sitting with someone new, a new friend you just made. So I'm going to ask you to rearrange yourselves. You think we could do that? Did you meet someone new here before walking into the room? If you did, could you walk up to that person? Yeah. Where are they? Where are they sitting? Oh, you're sitting next to each other? Are you sitting next to the person that you met? Who is? Who is sitting next to the person they just met at this conference? Oh my gosh. Oh, you are? Madam, you are? Excellent. Are you sitting next to the person? Oh, brilliant. Well, 2 out of all of us is a starting point. But I think we all get the point. It's about networking and beginning with new relationships and a new synergy. So, great. Feel the room and fill the room. It may not be full yet, but the power of this room is the power you and I are going to bring to it, which is why everybody hold up those bags. Look at it again. I love it. Inspire the world. Whose world? Our world. But it's not just our world now. It's the world that we are going to create, because we have inspired by the fire of our dreams. If your dream is not yet up on the wall, I'd like to put it this way. Even if you put your dream up on the wall, I think we're going to have to redream that dream again by the time we're done with this conference. So let's put our hands together in an applause that celebrates the dreams in you and in us. We are here today, this morning, because a woman did more than just sleep with her dream. She didn't sleep on it. She woke up with it, and she worked it and walked with it. And today, that dream, 20 years strong, is in this room. I'd like us to celebrate the global inspiration and expression of WIN, Women's International Networking, as a formidable dream that has come true and has come to Nigeria and Abuja, the capital city. Put your hands together and celebrate. Just think of it. Someone had a dream, but she didn't sleep on it. That's what's going to happen to your dreams and mine. 20 years from now, who's going to be clapping in a room? Let's put another applause together and appreciate. Well, it's a personality and a brand, and that person we will be meeting in a little while, but let's honor her, celebrate the woman and her dream, Christine. Welcome. Let's appreciate her. Let's celebrate her. I'm not bringing you up yet, but yes, just celebrating you. Thank you. Very properly. I had earlier celebrated Christine Envig, founder of Women's International Networking, a Norwegian living in Switzerland, and like as I had earlier introduced, as I had earlier mentioned, this is a 20-year-old dream that has come true and is in the room. Expected is going to be our keynote speaker, a very distinguished woman of global reference, and a Nigerian, Dr. Obi Ezekwesili. And once she's in here, and like you and I know, she's always particular about time, so something really, really challenging has challenged her timeline. But she will be coming with us, and when she does, we will go ahead with her keynote. But I'd like us also right now to very properly welcome, for the opening welcome remarks, Madam Charity Ohadinwa, the executive partner of WIN Nigeria, and today our host here in the Federal Capital Territory. Please help me celebrate and welcome her properly. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, beautiful ladies in the world. Good morning, our women. I can hear their voices. Good morning. We are really pleased to have all of you here this morning for WIN, Women International Networking Conference, Nigeria 2016. It's really happening here in Abuja. When we started thinking about this, putting our thoughts together, about this time last year, after we came back from the Global Wind Conference in Rome, we thought that November will never come. But today, it is 23rd of November 2016. And this conference is happening here in Abuja, Sheraton Hotel. Many years ago, I was living outside this country, and I watched with so much pain the plight of Nigerian youths in overseas countries. And when I got back to Nigeria, I decided to set up an NGO called Human Resource Working Partners. What in particular this NGO is championing is to reduce as much as possible the fruitless economic migration of young Nigerians to developed countries. And that's why Human Resource Working Partners was set up. Today, we are partnershiping with an international NGO that's almost 20 years old, Women International Networking Conference, Lausanne, Switzerland. And we are happy to have in our midst today, Kristen Envik, founder of WIN International Networking Conference, Lausanne, Switzerland. Thank you very much.
So, thank you very much for inviting me here and for being part of this. It's a great... okay, I stay here a little bit. But there was one thing, I was working in a big bank for many years, and I realized that it was very hierarchical, lots of opportunities, lots of training, and but I also saw that maybe things can be done a little differently. What if we can put some of the feminine qualities into the way we work? So for at least 5,000 years on this planet, we have had quite a strong patriarchy, let's say. And I think it's time that women worldwide raise up and bring our qualities. So let's say that, okay, we need structure, we need efficiency, we need a little bit of competition. But what if we bring our collaboration? What if we listen to our intuitions, to our heart, and put that in action? So that's why also we get together, women worldwide, to bring our heart into the picture, to collaborate, to bring in the feminine values. It's us for the planet wants it, workplaces want it, our very lives and families need this right now. So we are here to sort of listen to the call out there and inside and go out and do something about that. So our context, I grew up in Norway, in north of Europe. Many of you are from Nigeria. Some of you I have a friend from Kenya here, Netherlands, South Africa, India. There are other countries here as well. And our context shapes us and forms us. So now we have a chance too that for 2 days we are together, we can create a context where we can share, we can be with each other the best we can. And in order to create that context, we can say, a network. We would like to network with each other. So I have in your book, or in your folder, in your bag, there is a little card. Maybe you can see if you find it. And on the card, it's for you a little memory, but it's also in the book. It outlines a little bit, how do we network together? When we are here, but also when we are other places. And the first thing that's on the card, it says, let's be open. Let's be a little extra open. It's not there? Okay, I'll talk about it then, and maybe you'll get it outside afterwards. So the first thing I'll ask you to do is to be open, be a little more open than we usually are. So by that I mean that we do things different ways, perhaps, and that we are open for that. So if you hear a speaker here from another country, another profession, another industry, let's not immediately judge that. Let's immediately think, that's an interesting way of doing things. Second thing on the card, we say, let's be ready to connect. And so far, my 2 days in Nigeria is that everyone here is pretty ready to connect. A lot of people, you come up and talk to each other and so on. It's not like that all over the world. In Switzerland, for instance, where I'm living at the moment, people are much more reserved. But still, I noticed if I go and talk to them, they like it too. So all over the world, I think people like that. So be ready to connect, share something about yourself, share your dreams, then we can accelerate it happening. And then be quick to contribute. So if someone has a need and you know you have a solution, you can help her. So be quick to contribute. And also if you see someone standing alone, go and talk to her. So maybe there's some of the people here that flew in all alone and they don't know anyone else here. So you be with her, talk to her, and make sure she's not alone. And if you say you're going to do something for her, you commit to it and you do it. So over the 20 years of working with women, particularly the women we have had on stage talking, they have one thing in common. All of them are really good committers. They commit to what they say they do. And if you are in a situation you're committed to, at work or home, anywhere, but things are going on that's not acceptable, you fight for that too. You never accept unacceptable behavior, because guess what? That will just reinforce it. And I think that's something we need to talk about when we are together with women, you know. So never accept unacceptable behavior. And then here, when we are at WIN, we want to be light. We want to look for what lights each other up. So if I speak to a friend and I see she talks about something she's very excited about, I'll let her talk a little more about that, because that can be her way to find what she's passionate about. Because we want to do these days, we want to do our dreams, but we want to do the dream that we're excited about, we're enthusiastic about. And if we do, I think we pretty much can expect magic. So that's what we want. We want to expect some magic. And now, I'd like you to do one thing. Talk to the person sitting next to you about maybe one intention, one thing you want to have during these days we are together. Because you will hear about what's going on in the world, future work, visions, and tomorrow we're going to go into realizing us. There will be workshops that are hands-on. But if there is something today that you think, oh, maybe during these 2 days I can find clarity of my new step at work, a dream I would like to make happen. It could be something really small or something enormous. Okay, spend 1 minute talking to your friend about that now. A little intention for these 2 days, who you like to be. No? Okay, I won't give you more time than that for now. So I was also thinking that I'd like to remind us all about the fact that in Europe now, for more than 19 years, we're holding this snow next year for the 20th year. We've had people coming from all over the world, and we meet like 1,000 people together. But we have also done this conference in India, And we have done it in Japan, in Abu Dhabi, and in Turkey. And so even if we are here in Nigeria today, we are actually part of something that's happening in many other countries too. So I think that's kind of cool to think about, that somehow, even if they're not sitting in the room, we are still connected to them too. So with that, I would like to thank you now, and we will continue our session with more speakers. Just to check if our keynote has arrived, any chance? Maybe she has, yes. Okay.
Let's put our hands together and appreciate Christine. Thank you very, very much. Well, the freedom to choose who you want to be by defining through the courage that is in you to be that one woman that makes the difference in her world. That one woman with one solution can make all the difference. And really, today, this morning in this room, Women International Networking is creating that kind of an experience and a camaraderie for every one of us. I don't know who you met in that moment of interacting, but I met Sister Florence from Daughters of Mary, Mother of Mercy. And I asked her a question. I said, Sister Florence, why are you here? I mean, well, what is your inspiration coming here? And she said, I want to be enlightened so as to enlighten the world. And I thought to myself, that reminded me so much of the fact that when you and I light a candle and hold it to ourselves, it's one. But if we take that one candle and begin to light others, you never lose your light, but what you do is you create more light. Having said that, I didn't just mind my own business, you know. As I was sitting there, I listened in on another interaction on the row behind me. And I didn't get the names of the other two sisters, but then I did know the name of the other person. But I loved what I heard from the interaction. And this was it. One of the sisters was like, well, we know you from a certain reference. And the response was this, well, I am Obi first. That and many other things. Many other things have brought her here to this room today. Not just the cause of 300 young daughters, but much more than that. If you look in the write-up of her bio in the program, it's in a certain response, one page, but it's so much more than one page, one sentence, or any introduction that I am about to make. Our keynote speaker for this conference today, for this meeting, Dr. Obi Ezekwesili, is a woman influencer of women like yourself and myself, but not just women, men too, teams of governance and government across the world. But here, as a woman and daughter from Nigeria, schooled in Nigeria, and a graduate of our own varsity system and education system, she has become very articulate in expressing her dreams, her aspirations, her desires to bring about a world that is truly a better place. Today, help me welcome Dr. Obi Ezekwesili. Obi first, that and many other things. Yes, indeed, a former Honorable Minister for Education, Solid Minerals, Senior Special Assistant to Presidents, not just in Nigeria, but in Africa and across the world, former Vice President of the World Bank African region, and I have been told Idu. Well, you know what I love to say? In a day they'll be introducing you in the future. May it come to the point that you say Idu. But right now, an applause for so many other things. Thank you. You may be seated. Well, as she's seated, as they are seated, I'm going to very quickly invite to be seated along with them, yes, Madam Charity, and I believe the rest of the distinguished plenary that shall be for this first plenary. Well, she's going to give a keynote, and after that we would have the rest of the interaction. But let me invite to be seated. Can I invite them? Let me invite to be seated, please, with them. Actually, right now, I would like to interject just as the coordinator in terms of hosting the program and say, looking at the numbers I have here, I will hold on that and come back to it. Let us just invite Dr. Obiesi-Kwesili to do her keynote. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Welcome to Nigeria, Christine, and many others who probably are visiting us, maybe for the first time, maybe for more than the first time. But we are very boisterous in welcoming those who come into our midst, because we're essentially very nice people as Nigerians. And we're usually very hospitable, so you can be sure you're going to take many tales of the Nigerian hospitality with you by the time you're leaving us. And to my dear compatriots, mostly female, a sprinkle of males, good morning. It can only be Ngozi Azodo that would completely derail my schedule for today. I was not in any way going to be a part of this because, it hadn't been something on my schedule at all. And then the tsunami called Ngozi Azodo jumped on me and insisted that I just had to do this. And so that's why I'm here with you. So if anything that I say doesn't quite make sense, attribute it to her. Because I would normally make a little bit of sense, given that enough time to think about my thoughts. But I am very excited to see that this idea, Christine, that you started off building is beginning to get its prime time. And the fact that it's come all the way to Nigeria and you're having the first conference in Nigeria, just like you've had in many other places, whether it's Paris or it's Dubai or these other places where you have had your conferences with women, is an indication that, as a matter of fact, we needed this. We needed to have the platforms that would not simply be about our conversation on the necessity for women to be part of society in a more inclusive way, but also the necessity for women to understand that it is not sufficient to make the gender argument. It is important to make the personal development argument for gender inclusion. So we don't want to be a bunch of women who talk about women issues from the perspective that I am a woman, therefore I am entitled to certain things. No, that's certainly not what we want, right? What we want is a much deeper conversation that says women are important resource for nation building, for global development, and therefore we must ensure that every woman gets the opportunity to build herself into a dynamite that can hold her own in any capacity at any time. And I think that that's what gives the Women's International Networking a bit of a distinction from a lot of other gatherings of women. And I hope that you would hold very dearly that niche that you've got. It's about the development of the women before it is about the context within which they operate. Having said so, I would like to, because the theme for these, the theme says leading the way. Leading the way, am I correct? Yes, leading the way. So I thought about it a bit. And so I said I would start by talking about a subject that I love focusing on, because more and more we know that these are the real issues that are driving the kinds of evolution of society that we're seeing across the world, whether it is in the UK, where citizens woke up one morning and suddenly realized that more amongst them would love to just be a country known as the United Kingdom and not a country known as the United Kingdom, part of European Union. Or in the case of the US, where we all were excited at the fact that, oh, finally, the US is going to show that it is, in fact, the biggest, the greatest, the oldest modern democracy, and therefore earn its laurels by voting in a woman as the President of the United States. But then all that hope got dashed, because even amongst the women population, they really didn't think it was yet time. So in all of these things that we see going on around the world, a lot of undercurrents are driving them. And sometimes if we make the mistake of not understanding those undercurrents, then we might be trying to solve problems that we think are the key problems, but they really are symptoms of deeper issues. Or we may be trying to solve some problems, and they really are problems, but they are marginal to the key problems we should solve. And so I love to look at what is it that the average citizen of the world spend a lot of their time thinking about. And I've come to the conclusion that mostly people are thinking of how they can sustainably improve the quality of life that they have, whether they be males or they be females. When they wake up every day, they are thinking, how can I improve my standard of living? And the interesting thing about that which people are spending a lot of time thinking about is that people think about it in terms of, how can I improve my standard of living while pursuing my God-given talent to the fullest? And so there is this sense that everyone has a purpose, and that the purpose that they have can actually support their end goal, which is that they should live a fulfilled life. I don't know if I'm communicating. If I am not, tell me to shut up. I frankly, I take it well, because it's pointless to have, it's pointless to have someone, standing up speaking to me and all they are saying is going over my head. I don't need that, right? That's a poor use of my time, isn't it? So I always double check with my audience to be sure that, I'm not wasting my time and you're not wasting your time. So I just wanted to feel a sense that we are on this journey together. So clearly, in order to live a fulfilled life, in order to pursue aspirations and to fulfill the purpose and to maximize the possibilities that each of us have as individuals in the world, we have something called governments. And so you see that in the definition of government as an administrative unit that mobilizes all that is necessary within a territorial jurisdiction in order to govern people and their society, you would realize that a common definition of the objective of government is that it exists for the welfare and the well-being of its people. So whether it's the United States, which is the greatest economy in the world, and with the highest economic performance so far in the world, or it is maybe poorer Chad. Chad is our neighbor, and it's one of the poorest countries in the world. Or it's even Niger, another of our neighbors, very poor. Or our own country, which, despite all of its endowment, is struggling with the challenges of poverty and inequality. One thing is a common denominator. Governments exist to help improve the quality of life of citizens. When a government does not fulfill that raison d'etre, meaning the reason for its being, or as they would say, the leitmotif, the basis for its existence, then it has no reason to expect the kind of legitimacy that fulfilling those objectives can confer. Are you following? That's why it is often the case that you see societies where there is so much of disaffection because people don't feel that government is fulfilling that social contract that it owes the citizens. The disaffection, the tension then gets into a space where the opportunity to actually use principled dialogue and discourse to negotiate those matters will no longer be available. And then the next thing, you have conflict. Then you have conflict. So every government, whether rich or poor in today's world, part of the way to avoid conflict is to make sure that you would harvest all resources in order to maximize outcomes. If the role of government is to harvest all resources available to it in order to maximize outcome, then it means that the conversation becomes, what are these resources? And we know clearly that the most important of resources that create the basis of the accumulation of all other resources is the human resource. So the human resource is the basis for us to accumulate intellectual resource. It is the basis for us to accumulate technology as a resource. It is the basis for us to build up physical capital. It is the basis for us to have all other capitals. So the other capital is, of course, the natural resources capital. So the human being had no role in creating oil, right? We woke up and realized that we just are one of those countries that have oil in great magnitude, right? We have it in great quantum. But what did we do to get oil? Anything? Did we do anything? No, it's a natural resource. It's like winning a lottery. You didn't work hard. Some money was somewhere, you just, happened to to be fortunate to hit a number. So we were fortunate to be the ones born into a space called Nigeria. And that's how come we are citizens of a country that's oil producing. But that's it. But in terms of the human resource, there is so much that is subject to what government does in order to build it up. So if the human resource is the key resource on the basis of which even your natural resources can be of value or of disaster or devastation to you, then it means that the emphasis on your human resources has to be profound. If your emphasis on human resources development is profound, it would look like this. It would be an emphasis that looks at your boys and your girls, your men and your women, through the lenses of equality. Because you recognize that ab initio, they are the same resource, and that if you should fail to give all of them the opportunity to be as productive as possible, then you would miss the kind of outcome that you should attain. Are we together so far? So that the conversation on women in society, their role, their function, their presence, their participation, ceases from being a conversation of whether we love women or don't love women. You know, there's a place for loving women, and that's important. But there is an even more profound place for ensuring that you're not wasting women. Societies that waste women are found in the lower rung of the economic league table. That's where they are. So we came to the conclusion when I was still at the World Bank, and one of the years, I think it must have been 2012, our World Development Report, which is usually the flagship intellectual work that's done every year, particular topics are taken, and that particular year it was women, gender, and then equality and empowerment. And we came to a simple statement. Empowering your women is smart economics. It's that simple. Empowering your women is smart economics. Because what it means is that by empowering your women, you're increasing in leaps and bounds the productive base of your society. If you ignored your women and wasted them and put them on the margins of development, what you're going to have is a maximization of your male, if that's ever possible. But even if you maximized your male, except if your male constitutes 99% of your population, you are failing. In our own society, our males are just about parity with our females. So imagine a Nigerian society that would abandon its women at low-end, informal, inconsequential place in society. What a colossal waste. No amount of oil deposit can be a substitute for the women of this country. That's why, Christine, you're coming in order to help the conversation. Because there's a lot of conversation already going on in our society on the importance of making sure that our women are part of the process of our development. Whether it's WIMBIS or it's the Women Trust Fund or something. Who runs that now? It used to be my mentee, Aisha Osoro. Okay, so that's what you do now. Okay, excellent. And there are a couple of other women groups. Recently, I was with a number of women in Lagos at the magazine, The Essential Woman, was being introduced into the public space. And just looking at the women in that hall, just knowing how much many of the younger generation, the ones younger than me, have accomplished, I just felt so good. But, you know, for me, I don't think that we're going fast enough. We need to do this faster. We need to get our girls already leading in the home. Because as I say to people, there are 5 realities of a woman that I know, and that's what guides me in maximizing the person that I am. The number 1 reality is that we are human beings, equivalent in status to any other one created, because that's exactly how God intended it. For those of us who are believers of the Bible, When God said male and female created he them, what do you think he meant? Male and female. He didn't say male he created them, and then after many years he decided that he would create some subordinate being called a woman. No, male and female equivalency was established by the Creator himself. So that being the case, the first reality is that reality of a human being. It is in that reality that we can be anything we choose to be. If we took a demography of all of those in this room, we would probably find some of you public servants of high note, notable public servants. We would find those of you in business, those in industry, those in civil society, those in community, those that are homemakers, holding their own in one form of profession or the other. It is in that your human reality that you can aspire and be anything you choose to be. It was in that human reality that Mrs. Clinton grew over time as a lawyer, a well-trained lawyer, a defender of children and women. And over time, she held her own. She not only was a wife of a president, she became a senator in her own right. And then she became a secretary of state. And then she thought, I could govern the United States. And we joined her in saying she could. But then there are other realities. The reality as a daughter, a person born of two parents, with the rich history of the forebears, the people that gave birth to you, accompanying you. It is that which they have given over to you that determines a lot what you become. Parents who understand the importance of their daughters already lay the stage for the lady that will lead her world. Then there's your reality as a sibling. I always say to people that the young child who is female starts learning how to lead as a sibling. Oh, just imagine what it takes to persuade your siblings that it's time to go to bed. Imagine what it took you to persuade them to even clean up the table after you had eaten. Your capacity to persuade, to convince, to influence, all of those times were your leadership skills being developed. And the lady as a sibling is so important because that dining room table or the room where she stays with her siblings, that's the boardroom in her early life. She's able to conquer that boardroom. She's ready to take on the world. And then reality as a wife, she learns partnership. She learns how to collaborate to solve problems with a total stranger that suddenly became very important, her husband. And then the reality as a mother enables that woman to suddenly realize that she's got enormous power to recreate a world that she does not like. Because the power to nurture, the power to teach, the power to inspire, the power to help a young child develop the sets of values that would be useful for the future is the power of the mother. So a mother would look at the Nigerian society and say, I don't like what I see of this society. I want to grow children in my own home, even if I don't have control over all the other children. I have control over the ones that are mine. And I'm going to give them the kinds of values that when they go out there, there will be the kind of light that Dio was talking about. If you don't have light, you don't have light. You're going to give darkness. You know? So when I look at all these realities, so I come down to the fact that if we understood, timekeeper, I can see you. Don't worry. I'm going to give you my exit, son. You know? So when you look at all of this and you thought of it in terms of where I started, which is that the role of government is to ensure constant and consistent improvement in the quality of life of citizens, then it means that harvesting the sum total of the possibilities in 50% of your population who are women, in all these multiple dimensions of their realities, is a very profound way to look at development. Because if you did that, you will maximize them in their multiple roles. And if you did that, then you would trigger productivity. Why is it important? Because actually economic research has shown us that the problems of economic development today for nearly all countries, including the advanced ones, is the problem of productivity and competitiveness. Productivity and competitiveness of countries is dependent, is what determines how well citizens will do. Nigeria is a low productivity society. Our low productivity is clear. Just compare what happened to us and what happened to Singapore, and you would understand this. At the time of independence in the 60s, we were very similar to Singapore. Both had been colonized by Britain. We had similar historical contexts. Over time, that diverged. Why? Because Singapore put all the emphasis on its human development. And in putting the emphasis, it did not discriminate between the men and the women. It developed all of its human resources. And when it did that, over time, human capital became the driver of economic growth for Singapore. And as human capital that was inclusive of men and women drove development process, it was very natural for women to be represented in all segments of society. So you didn't have to say, we're searching for women who would fill a token seat that is available in government or in business. The women were as developed as the men. So if you went to parliament, you saw as many women in parliament as you saw in the business space. Today, Nigeria's political participation of women, Funke, last time I checked, it had reduced from about 20%. It's probably now about 11%. Less than 6%. That's even terrible. 6%. Less than 6%. The percentage of women in corporate boardrooms in Nigeria today is about 11.3%. The continental average is 12%. But then there are countries. Kenya is leading at about 19%. South Africa is at about 17%. Nigeria loves to say giant of Africa. Well, be giants for your women too. Yeah. So you have all of these indicators. And then you've got a GDP per capita that is about $2,350 compared to that of Singapore at almost $60,000. You know, that disparity is the space waiting for you to support the women, to develop the capacity to lead in all spheres of life. When the women and their capacities are developed, enhanced, and supported to be a part of the natural integration of development, what would happen is that the gap between $2,350 and $60,000 per capita would be closed. And that would be the beginning of a Nigeria where the citizens have absolute confidence in the power of their government to be called legitimate. Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you so much. And I want to say one thing before I give the word to you. You know, you said something really interesting when it comes to the growth of a country when you see the economic participation of women. And I come from an oil country. And our country has been hugely developed, hugely impacted by oil. But also hugely impacted by the women in the economic participation. And I just wanted to ask you, what is your advice? How can we get more women into the working life so we can increase? I mean, now in the time of low oil prices, we are in some ways, it's becoming more and more urgent in some ways too. Just comment on that.
Yes. So I actually am one of those that think that the time of low oil prices, again, because this happens in cycles, right? Although we just happen to be one of the countries that gets taken by shock. You know, like, we didn't expect it will happen. Well, it will happen. You know, oil is not something that, you can bank on. So it happened again. And for me, this is the best opportunity we have to just put oil by the side and focus on our human capital. And that requires a lot of change in the values, in what we value. Because part of what oil does is that it distorts the value construct of a society. There's been a distortion of our value construct. So we tend toward those things that provide ease and comfort quickly. We need to be more entrepreneurial. We need to be more industrial in the way we need to actually reward effort and hard work more than we reward, a good life. You shouldn't get to a good life if you've not put effort, and smart effort at that. So when it comes to how do you then get women to participate in this? Well, the first thing is going to be to get women to actually understand this. So the knowledge part of it is critical. That's why I was saying that your platform needs to be a platform that gets women to think inward. How do I develop myself for that moment that I am hoping will come? Because the moment meets with a prepared person, not a person needing to be prepared, but you're ready. You're ready for that prime time. So you give knowledge to the women, and then you let them unleash their voice. How many of the women here follow policy issues? Can I ask? You follow policy issues? That's not bad, but we need many more of you to follow policy issues and to understand policy issues.
Thank you so much. And we have so much power, ladies.
Well, I'm certain that we can give more power to that applause and appreciation. Everybody. I mean, make it sound like something just happened to you. Make it sound like you just embraced something new, something powerful. And here's one of the younger generation. I believe you are. Yes. You must be in the space of, are you older than 35?
I'm younger than 35.
You're younger than 35, exactly. So put your hands together for the next generation of women global leaders. Let's hear your voice.
Good morning, everyone. And it's such an honor to be a part of this conference and to hear you speak.
Your name?
I am Onyinye Ede. I am in Nigeria as a fellow with the U.S. Institute of Current World Affairs, but I am a Nigerian, and I am very passionate about the girl child and women's empowerment. I'm also a public health professional, and I also own a nonprofit called Strong Enough Girls.
All right, we're strong enough. Yes. Stronger today.
Strong
All right,
enough
so.
Girls. Yes. And my question for you today is, what is holding Nigerian women back? I feel like we know what to do, we know the issues, but we're not making headway. You talked about less than 6% in the House of Assembly, and then the women on corporate boards. I meet with a lot of women, I meet with a lot of girls, and I want to hear from you. What do you think is holding the Nigerian woman
Wow,
back?
what is holding us back? What is holding you back? Let's get an answer. All right, please, what's holding? No, please, I think let's. Is there another question? Okay, that was just it. That was actually, I just said 2. Are we permitted to take one more? All right, you see, you get the extra. Everybody say thank you, D. Thank you, Dio.
Thank you very much. My name is Ngozi Azodo, and I think Sister B said there was a tsunami. I'm just so glad that tsunami happened. Now, I don't want to ask her to make herself more available because she's overwhelmed already with, all the demands on her time. But I just want to say that she's giving so much, and coming out of this WIN conference, I think part of what WIN should be looking at is how can we work with such women like Sister Obi to replicate and, replicate what she is doing in a way that it is more accessible and more available, because she's just one person, and just one person that is a forest, but still one forest.
All right.
So what I will be asking is, what is it in a policy environment coming out of meetings like this that we can use, to tap from her enormous experience to escalate the kind of experiences we have had today? And that's my comment. And then I just want to add that I've had a few enriching experiences around Sister Obi. One of them was while she was at the World Bank. I went for a World Bank meeting, and the first thing that happened was somebody called about Obiageli, Obi. I said, no, please don't call her Obi. She's my sister. Call her auntie or call her Dr. Eze Christie. What they heard was, she's your sister? Oh my God. They moved their seats and sat around me. So Sister Obi, thank you for being such a wonderful sister.
Well, I think she just ended up with a bigger tribe of sisters.
Now, speaking to the internal part of you, is where my emphasis lies in. For me, in order to lead the way, you must be someone who's got the capacity to mobilize and influence the solving of problems. Problems that everyone's looking at and not wanting to do anything about. Step out and figure out how to solve them. And you know what we require to be a leader? I say you need character. Number 1. Number 2, you need competence. You can't pretend competence. It's either there or it's not. Then you need capacity. You must be strong. No matter how much the weight is, you must be able to carry it. That's capacity. Now, these are 3 things that I've said: character, competence, and capacity. But guess what? If you had all the competence and the capacity in the world, and you have no character, you're a locust. You would not only eat up others, you would eat up yourself eventually. So it is the most important thing that women must face. In what we see around the world, we have a leadership value. The world is suffering from a leadership value. Politically, in business, in society, wider society. So what it means is that the world is in search of persons of character. Now, if leaders are going to emerge from amongst the women, then they must not be going into leadership, carrying exactly the same baggage as what the world is doing. So, build on yourselves and take away the internal barrier that is going to stand in the way of you leading the way. Once that is done, I believe that you will be part of the voice that will keep every.
That for me
just said so much more. Let's put our hands together once again. Thank you. That's their interaction. I'm sure that you and I are hearing from the prayer today. It's not about the moral issue right now. It's about the fact that you and I can beat what is internal by becoming fearless and having the audacity to stand. Until we, thank you very much. Another round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. Zainab and giving us a job. Let's put our hands together for everyone of them. Thank you. And it's all about creating the global picture. So whatever it is, a blank page you receive.
Thank you for introducing everyone. Our session here is going to deal with the global picture, as we call it. We're going to look at what are some trends and what's the situation of the world in which we live right now and the Nigeria in which we find ourselves. And not only, the question is also to you. We can look at trends and the current situation of things and how they are, but we also want to be the ones that are creating trends. So, I'd like to ask Rufus to start.
Good morning, ladies and ladies. Good morning, ladies and ladies. It's on purpose. And hello to the gentlemen. Thank you for having us, Christy. And it's nice to finally meet you in e-meeting. For me, because my work in the last few years has centered on women's political participation, they forgive me if I was talking more about women's political participation. And I'd like to start with saying something I witnessed last year at a conference like this. And it brought me down to my knees in terms of looking at democracy, the global democracy and what we're facing right now, as women and as men. So democracy for me is at a crossroad. It's at a crossroad because for years and decades we've preached participation, we've preached inclusion, we've preached democracy as government of the people, for the people, and by the people. And now the world has challenged us to put our money where our mouth is. And I'm sure you know where I'm going, so I'll try as much as possible not to mention that particular case. In terms of how the world views inclusion and how the world views participation. And it's easy to talk about, oh, everyone, this is democracy, every man, woman, all youth, as long as you are above 18, can participate in the democratic process. You can be elected, you can elect, you can be voted for, you can vote, you can participate in the democratic process. But when we start competing for those spaces, that is when we know it's not really democracy. So democracy for me is being challenged right now by the systems and institutions in the world. By the institutions themselves. Thank you very much for helping me out there. The same institution which preaches participation of all is the same institution discriminating against some, majority in some instances. I just got back from Ghana on a gender assessment of the Ghanaian general elections. How many of you know that Ghana is set to elect a new president, senators, and what have you in the next few days? Barely 2 weeks, December 7th to be precise. So the EU, IRI, USAID, and a number of international organizations were gathered between 5th and 12th this month to do an assessment of the election environment. And my mission, my team, was concerned about looking at the participation of women in the democratic process. Now, I'll give you a story that you might be familiar with, but it still shocks me because it's perpetrated by the same institutions, like my sister helped me out, that were set up to protect the rights of men, women, and young people, as long as you are both 18 to participate in the democratic process. Now, some months back, years back in Ghana, well, let me give you a background of Ghana. Ghana is one of the growing examples of democracy in Africa. In fact, Ghana is rated as one of the top democracies as far as Africa is concerned. Now, in Ghana, you've got the Chief Justice that's female, the electoral body is headed by a female, you've got a number of justices that are women, you've got ministers that are women, you've got MPs, not many of them women, members of parliament. However, over 90% of the radio stations in Ghana are owned by political parties. Hello? So when you think you have a problem in Nigeria, think. Over 90% of the radio stations in Ghana are owned by political parties. So I'm talking APC owning channels, DPN and the rest of them. You can imagine. PDP owning Sky or something, Silverbird, something like that. So it's clear, it's no secret, it's an open thing. So there's a station called Monty FM. How many of you have heard about it? Have you heard about the Monty 3? You heard about the Monty 3? Only one person. Okay, let me tell us a story. So this station called Monty FM is owned by the ruling party, the National Democratic C. I don't know what the C stands for anymore. And these three men were on set and they started talking about a particular case that was said to be heard by the Chief Justice. And right there on national TV, well, I don't call it national TV, but right there on TV, they threatened to beat up and rape the Chief Justice of Ghana if she did not pass judgment in favor of the NDC. On TV, if you have your phones, you can check Monty 3, M-O-N-T-I-E, and 3. Monty is the name of the station. 3 refers to the infamous characters, those the men who threatened the Chief Justice. Is a female, whose appointment was of course ratified by the sitting president of the same NDC. Now, after that show ended, there was public outcry. Civil society organizations, general public, everyone cried out that, I mean, this is unacceptable. You cannot denigrate the office of the Chief Justice of the Federation and threaten to rape her on air, on live TV, and beat her up. Anyway, the case went to court and they were sentenced to about 6 months in prison. Only. Wait for it, that is not the worst part. 2 weeks after, the Minister of Women Affairs, Ghana, who you can guess what her sex is, the ministers, about 8 female ministers in the cabinet who are appointed by NDC, party stalwarts and apologists and what have you, all wrote a petition to the president asking him to pardon the Monty 3. That was when the women's movement lost it. That is still not the worst that happened. The worst that happened is the president actually pardoned them, and they were settled. So as I speak to you, those men got away with threatening a sitting Chief Justice because she's female. Now, the chairperson of the electoral body is also female. She's also been threatened and all that. and it is bad. Now tell me, are we practicing a democracy? Are the institutions upholding, supposed to uphold, who are supposedly supposed, now I'm confused with the drama, uphold democracy, are they actually doing that? So for me, the place of women in the democratic process is highly threatened. Now who is safe? The Chief Justice can be threatened. Why did I start with this story? Because I could go on and prepare something to say, but you know, we need to begin to look at the current realities. What exactly is happening? Why is the system fighting back against participation of women? Who do we threaten? Or who is threatened by my participation or my emergence? Dr. Obi mentioned here that we used to have about 11% of women in parliament. And we use parliament as a yardstick because you and I know there's no female deputy governor, so don't even go there. I mean, there's no female governor, so there's no point. There are a handful of female deputy governors. And in the state parliament, we've got about 8 states in Nigeria where only men sit in parliament. Abia, Kaduna inclusive, only men sit in their parliament as I speak. If you find a female there, she's probably 17. In this state, in Nigeria, in 2016, not in 1996, 2016. Don't even go to local government because all those ones now are appendages of sitting governors in states. You know, the elections have been held in so many states. So we have 109 men in Senate and 8 women. What does that tell you? We have over 360 men in the House, 18 women. In all, we have 5.5% of women in the Nigerian 8th parliament as we speak. And somebody is comfortable with that. Everybody is comfortable with that. It's no big deal. Just give them a few seats and then they'll keep quiet and places at home. I would say that. I know you would say that. 18 women against 360. 8 against 109. Now imagine someone has a bug in his brain one day, just a bug, and decides that we all should sit at home. And they craft a law and says we all should sit at home. Eleanor, don't work again. Why must you work? You've got kids and a family to look after. That law will go through. Hello? It will go through. Tomorrow someone says all women shave their hair or head. Shave it. You're getting too pretty. No woman should wear a weave or a braid for those who like it. It will go through. Press release. I'm sounding the alarm right now. For those of you who think politics is still dirty, I don't need to participate. Continue. It will, one day we will all regret our actions. You don't need to run for an office, but you can support a woman to run for office. Everybody doesn't have to run for office. I'm doing this not because I want to. Some of us need to be the technical resource for women who want to run for office. And that's what the Women Fund does. We mobilize resources, technical and financial, for women to run for office. Tomorrow someone can come up with a flimsy reason. I'm tired of the way Funke wears her heels. She is too arrogant with those heels. Ban heels. Enact a law to ban women from wearing heels. You are laughing at it, but it's happening in some countries. It's happening in some small African countries. One man wakes up and decides maximum level of education for a woman is primary education, because you are all getting too arrogant. And the law will go through 108/8. Majority carries the vote. It's a democracy. So that's something I put down my speech and said we should think about. And we should think clearly about it. If we don't all rise up to do something about it, we are going back fast to the dark ages. And there's just a one-way ticket to that age. There's no return ticket. The way we are going. Now I'll give you my story, why I decided to do what I'm doing right now. I was a civil servant. I'm still a civil servant. I'm on what you call a sabbatical, a kind of leave of absence. So I spent 15 years in government. And in 2005, I had the opportunity to go with my boss, who was now Minister of Environment, Amina Mohammed. I was an SD of gender, to present the budget of the MDG's office. She was a senior special assistant to the president on MDGs. And to present that budget on the MDG's Goal 3, which was my desk. Now, apart from Amina Mohammed, I was the only other female. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story. 2005 will be how many years ago? 11 years ago. So imagine me 11 years ago. I was much slimmer than this. Just imagine it in your head. Don't worry about it. You know. And 11 years ago, I stepped into the National Assembly with this woman who was also just like me. How many of you know Amina Mohammed? Just like me. But my nose and color were having systems. And we stepped in. Of course, she is known as the SSAP. And I wanted to sit down. And one of the senators asked me to serve tea. No, you serve tea. Because as far as he was concerned, I could only be in that room because I had to start tea. And then Amina said, no, she's going to present the budget. I don't even know anything at that time. And that is the challenge we face. Now for me, the global picture is that we need to step up. We need to put on our A game. We need to participate. We either participate or we go into extinction. We go into extinction as far as our relevance, as far as our children, as far as our heritage is concerned. We need to mobilize the men who think like us, who support us. The men who believe that we matter beyond the cubicles and the boxes that society has put us into. We need the support of those men. We need the support of other women who have been psychologically trained to think that women like you and I, who step up and step out, are deviants. We need those women too. And this is a call for us all to do the needful. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your passionate speech, and I think your urgency is something to be taken very seriously. You had a very interesting question. Who is it that I'm threatening? You know, what is it that is so threatening about us as women? I think we can together actually create a pretty good place if we work together with men. But there is something, and it doesn't come on its own or fight. So I'd like to ask now, Eleanor, and no questions at the moment because we're a little bit short of time. So
thanks very much, Christine. Welcome everyone in the room, ladies and gentlemen. And I think we especially need to applaud the gentlemen in the room. Yes, this is the Women's International Networking Conference, and it takes a man who appreciates women to be part of this conference. Congratulations, Lady Charity, for bringing this conference to Abuja, leading the way. Somebody said, I can't remember who it is, that if you are leading the way and you look behind you and there's nobody following, you are simply taking a walk. So we have to challenge ourselves today. Our theme is leading the way. But I loved what dim and surely get dimmer and dimmer. To what extent are we, individually, collectively, leading the way as stars and ensuring that we connect, that we network with starlets around us? It was my mom who, whenever faced with a challenge in the home, she's late now, and she must have done something right because I'm here. Whenever there was a challenge in the home, she would say, there is always a way. God will make a way. There's always a way. And that has spurred me on in life. Now I'm conscious of time, and I was given a specific topic, and let me speak to that topic, because I am currently working on a peace-building program called the Nigerian Stability and Reconciliation Program. And they have given me the time off from sitting at my desk or being in Maiduguri because I'm supposed to be talking about the work that I'm doing. We go where everyone else fears to go. So we're working in conflict-affected areas. We're in 8 states in Nigeria, and as a manager for women and girls, in my daily work, my work is to ensure that as much as possible, the violence that women and girls undergo in their lives in the midst of conflict is reduced, but equally as important, that women and girls participate meaningfully and influentially in peace building. Why is that important? Next slide, please. We know the situation for women and girls. There's the marginalization, vulnerability. We know about weapons of warfare by a group better known as Boko Haram. Their real name is Jama'atu al-Sunnah Wal Jihad. There's us know about Queen Amina, Queen Bakwatu, Moremi, Idia, Emoten, Queen Kambasa, Obijola, Fumilayo Ransokuti, Margaret Ego, to just name a few. And some of us in this room should be on that roll call. So let me show you what's happening around leading the way in peace today. Next slide, please. The last panel of inquiry on conflicts that was headed by a woman was in 1992. And that was Honorable Justice Kujo. And she headed the panel of inquiry regarding the Zongo Kataf Kaduna crisis. We have others who are leading the way in peace, but they're just a handful. Pastor Ivana, who is leading Women Without Walls on the plateau, bringing interfaith peace processes together. Dame Pauline Talon, she was the one who went to Wardhead district heads to organize a peace unity forum. More recently, a Nigerian for the first time was given the award of 2016 Woman Peacemaker. I challenge our media friends in the room. To what extent have we celebrated the first Nigerian woman peacemaker? I haven't seen it in the papers, on the television. It's not happening. Next slide, please. We know the situation for women and girls. There's the marginalization, vulnerability. We know about weapons of warfare by a group better known as Boko Haram. Their real name is Jamatu Alisuna Didawal al-Jihad. There's that culture of silence around violence, a culture of impunity. But women are left out of formal peace processes. What do I mean by that? In our everyday lives, in our homes, we are called upon to settle sibling conflicts, household conflicts, community conflicts. But what happens when there is a formal peace-building process? The women are left out, or you might find a woman who is just put there as a tokenistic measure. Because by and large, you will be told that peace building should be done with all due respect by the traditional and religious leaders, and who are at the top echelon of our religious and traditional systems. It's the men. So what we are trying to do is to see how women can get involved. Can we have the slide on the historical role of women in peace building? As far back as 1929, next slide please, under British colonial rule, women protested the draconian taxation. Next slide please. Historical, back please. Thank you, you're doing a great job. Thank you so much. We had historically, and it's so sad that history has been abolished in schools in Nigeria. If you don't know where you're coming from, how can you know where you are going? Mira Aisha Kidi Ngira Marama, she ruled for 7 years, 7 months, and 7 days in Kanem, Borno, when her husband died because her son was 15 years old. But those who are in charge of our history books, they want to hide that. They don't want you to know that. Gladly, a lot of us know about Queen Amina, Queen Bakwatu, Moremi, Idia, Emoten, Queen Kambasa, Obijola, Fumilayo Ransokuti, Margaret Ego, to just name a few. And some of us in this room should be on that roll call. So let me show you what's happening around leading the way in peace today. Next slide, please. The last panel of conference. Next slide, please.
But I wasn't being recognized in my own right for the amount of time that I had spent to get my letters. How can we, amongst ourselves, avoid PhD? Pull her down. If you see crabs in a barrel, they spend their lives, if you put crabs in a barrel, have you ever seen crabs in a barrel? As one crab is trying to climb out of the container, the other one is pulling, thinking that that's the way to climb up. And what happens at the end of the day? They all end up at the bottom of the barrel. So let us encourage more the leaving of the ladder syndrome. What does that mean? Leave that ladder leaning against the wall that you used to climb up so that others have the opportunity to climb up. Dear friends, finally, as we recognize the vulnerabilities of our women and girls, let us more importantly appreciate our possibility. I look at my brand new 3 granddaughters and I see the tremendous possibility in those girls. I have purposed in my heart to invest in them like my parents invested in me in order that they will have tremendous possibilities. Thank you. Let us recognize and value the possibilities in our men and women working together. I'll leave you with one statistic. That statistic says the greatest factor that determines whether a country will live in peace and without war is how that country values and gives its women opportunities. So let's see possibilities in our sisterhood, let's see possibilities in our networking, and let's see the possibilities, last slide please, in you. Last slide please, I've got 0 minutes now, and me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Lots of powerful things there. There was one thing you said. Big applause also. Of the many crucially important things you mentioned, there was one thing you said that I'd like to repeat. It's something about this thing we do. We keep quiet when we see something that's not acceptable. I mean, not all of us, or at least not all the time, but I bet every single person in the room, and I include myself, has experienced at least one moment, if not 2, where we kept quiet instead of speaking up. And maybe it really actually had only to do with your own life. And particularly when it has to do with others too. And I think it comes also from sort of deep-rooted fear in our values of not being approved, or there's something there. But if each and every one of us could look at that very carefully, moments where we kept quiet, related to our own life, and related to others, where we actually could do something, but we choose to keep quiet, that we have to stop. And with that, I give the microphone to Zainab, and please, we look forward to hearing from you. So, yeah.
Thank you. For better view. And I will say, good morning or good afternoon, the day is fast spent. Lead the way, lead the way. You cannot lead the way if you are not healthy. And you cannot lead the way if you are not empowered. If you cannot lead the way if you are not intelligent. You cannot lead the way if you are not determined. I come in here to speak my own from the angle that I believe I can communicate to you, to see something that you can explore for your own benefit, to make you ready, to empower you, so that you can be able to be more determined to be able to lead the way in terms of accepting your health and in terms of empowering, because there is a factor which you may not know. It has all in all. And that is why I tend to focus on saying medicinal plans for health and economic empowerment of women. It's something that is entwined. It will give you the health, it will give you the beauty, it will give you the empowerment, and it will give you finally to lead the way because of who you are as a woman. So let me just start by saying the next slide. I said let me take a sweep at it. Then at the end, I think you'll get these are my simple table of contents. Next slide, I can speak to it straight ahead. Do you know who you are? Next slide. I said we talk as women, but really, who is a woman? Because when I tell you who you are, you may appreciate who you are, and you may not know who you are. I read a book called Woman's Body. In that book, this is what it defines a woman. You are the only source of human life. Is there anybody that gives the source of human life if not a woman? Fascinating person, admiration, desire. There is that great desire for you. And there is that expression of enormous gift and principles which you may not know God has put in you. You have a physical inner being. I look at you. Your creation, your creator is the best edifice that God has ever done on earth. In that, who are you inside? You are a leader, you are a thinker, you are a worker. So what do you need to lead the way? You have already started leading the way, for goodness sake. All you need to do is to continue and look at challenges that can lead the way. I don't want too many negative talks. They did this to us, they did this to us. It is time for you to see what can we do to do that to them too. Next slide. Next slide. A natural resource given to you by God, medicinal plants. This is, when God created you, he didn't put you there. He put the Garden of Eden. How many of you have thought, why was Garden of Eden there? For you to eat, to be healthy. For you to be able to get your grace. You cannot do anything if you are not healthy or if you're not eating. So that Garden of Eden is significant. And that was why the woman was asked, tell them to eat. But you know who women are. We did the wrong thing. So, but what I want to say is that in Nigeria, because I must relate it, whatever I want to say, I must domesticate it according to what we have here. If you don't domesticate the locality, you cannot go international. So I tried to research, and I discovered you have 8,000 species of plants. So why are you not tapping it? Research has shown that that is something that can benefit you, both as economic empowerment. Whatever comes, if you are not healthy, you are not economically empowered. Forget about politics. But when these are in place, political issue will just fall in place. Next slide. Health is wealth. Do you know that your health is wealth? And what is health? You say physical, spiritual, not even whatever it is. That is what it is. But the challenge we have is that there was the MDG goals, Millennium Development Goals. The result is that it was very poor in developing countries because women had 4 health-related issues. We could not do much for a reason. Prevent poverty, women empowerment. They keep on telling you the same story. Even in health, they say empower the women. So that means health has a significant role to empower you. And that is why I decided to expunge this aspect. Because I know, you know me, when I talk on Nature's Pharmacy on TV, this is what I deliver to you. If you don't know how to eat well, how will the man enjoy you? When you are giving them the right food, when you are giving them the right food, you can ask for what you want to do, even economic empowerment. Go take me to the next slide. Take me to the next slide. How do we promote good health? What is the advantage? You can see what I have said. I said, sorry, I cannot see it clearly. I'm trying to see. But what I said about good health is that generally there are issues for you to promote it good life. In Nigeria now, you see most of us have obese children. Why do we have obese children? We are giving them foods that are not indigenous to us. Go back to those dishes that your grandmom told you. Grow the gardens. When you grow the gardens, you can eat healthy and you can also be empowered. While you are eating, you are also selling and you are putting the money in your pocket and taking the children to school. These are some of the issues that we should look at. And then when we are healthy, we have the opportunity to be able to do the inner self. You realize that there is a fertile stage. Once the fertile stage is gone for you for a woman, no more, bye-bye, welcome to menopause. When menopause comes, this is where you are. And then there is a linkage between woman and death. Do you know that? You are the only being mystically designed, rhythmically designed, that when you are on earth, you are also almost seeing the death, but you are back again. That is it. Childbearing. When you pregnancy, that is to show you are leading the way for goodness sake. Telling me to come and tell you lead the way. You are already leading the way for goodness. Go next to my point. I was looking at a sweep at the health indices we have in the Northeast. You all know the challenges. There are more widows, there are more orphans, there are so many women, there is challenges. What we need to do, how do we intervene? How do we get the health sector? I'm coming from the ministry angle. I'm from the federal ministry. Definitely there are interventions we are doing. We have put in place emergency to be able, donor agencies are there supporting, and then we need to educate our men. Look at what we are facing here. Some challenges of malnourishment. Go to the next slide. We still have some good things to do. You look at the feeding, and then some good women who are doing some good work there. Go to the next slide. Environment. You don't know you can lead the way with the environment? You know, when we talk like this, why don't you look in? God has told you this thing he gave you. Think, and it's time to think inward. Let the oil go and sleep, please. Wake up and look at what other things. The environment is destined for you. Environment is blessed. We need to keep our environment right. We need to grow more trees. Nigeria we have the Great Green Wall Project. How are women to participate? You are the one that go and cut down the grasses, cut down the woods to cook. There is energy. There is a new system of whereby we can cook our food instead of trying to fall down trees and cause problem to the environment. We need to keep our environment clean. Women grow gardens. You use the environment, you beautify it. When you do that, you are exposing yourself for an extra skill because you are gifted with the enormous sense. You don't know who you are, what God has put in your brain. When you think, you sleep, you wake up, everything God has put for you is only for you to, as I come to religious and spirituality, once you develop that, you'll be seeing everything. You can even see heaven. Thank you. Go to the next slide. How do you get economic empowerment? Which all I have said, you want to get some economic, I don't want you to leave this place today without getting something. Like the preacher said, it will never be the same again at the end of this conference. So, I'm looking at empowering you so that you can be financially independent. We have realized that how many of you are looking for billions? You cannot get it. How many of you are looking for millions? You cannot get it. But when you start small, you grow big. And God has put in you something in front of you that can start small. That is what I'm trying to look at. And that is what I'm trying to tell you. So go to the empowerment. I just say, look, medicinal plants. These women don't know what they have. You use them as foods. Have you ever thought, I ask people, who started Ogbono soup? You don't give me an answer. Egusi, you don't give me an answer. That is the knowledge God has bestowed on whoever is the woman. Be it a British woman, be it an English, whatever is she. God put that sense in her to start to make that soup. And now you cook all sorts of soups. Go back to history. What was the art? That was an art given to that person to start that. You can do more and more of it. And then you have more restaurants so that we can sell our foods. You must teach your girls, because this is leading the way in terms of disciplining your children, leading the way in telling them this is the right food we need to eat. This is our traditional dishes. Lead it so that generation yet unborn can continue that story. And then I said for medicines, I've told you, we have so many things we can package. I look at women. You like to go to Dubai, bring shoes and bag, for goodness sake, and you say you are leading the way. When you bring shoes and bag, are you being innovative? Things you can do to innovate yourself. There will be a technical session if you want later on for innovation. Things that you can do. I told you those plants, in grannies, the old grannies, they will just package things during the winter, during the summer, and then they use it during the winter. That is leading the way. That is intelligence. That is innovation. And that is what women do. And that is what you should do. If you don't stop, be who you are. As an African, be an African. Quickly, let me just go because I like to keep to time. Next slide. Be fast about that. Body care. I said, let me look for this woman trouble. When I say body care, they will all be smiling. Yes, there are many things you can do with these plants to make you have body care products so that you can lead the way, sell these products and empowerment. You need less of money to do this. By the time you grow, I was told the lady who has body shop started in her garage in the early 50s. I visited her garage in UK. Today she's gone, but she's still on. Next slide. Intellectual property rights. Community service. As a woman, you know, when you come, your community is blessed with something. Then you say, how do you protect this thing for your community? You are leading the way. So that when you come, an investor, for example, comes, he wants to benefit what is in your community. He has to pay a price. Build a school for me, for my children, for the villagers, repair the roads, give them clean water. That is what you do to lead the way. Then when the big one comes, it's easy for you to fall, to go in and lead the way. I just said, what field? There are quick wins. There is what we call quick wins. You don't have to go to university to lead the way. The greatest women that ever lived are women even who didn't have education. But they had sense of innovation. So I say, in this field, what can I give you that you can learn? There are various fields you can learn. Of course, agribusiness, hydrotherapy, homeopathy, aromatherapy, essential oils. There is a way you can use them for your own benefit. Continue. Go to the next slide. What did I say? Religion is, you are the greatest, most religious people that God has created. And your spirituality is high. When Jesus Christ rose from the dead, who was the first person to see him? Why did she see him? Why did she go to see him? Prophet Muhammad. When Prophet Muhammad was destined to carry out the mission of preaching, he married Khadijah. What people will say, Prophet Muhammad was 25 years old, he married Khadijah 40 years old, a difference of 15 years. They say, do you know you are already a thinker, you are a lover, you are a carer. So what is it? Then I said, at the end of the story, let's look at women who have led the way. Maybe when we look at women who have led the way, you may begin to think of what? Funmilayo Ransome Kuti, she has said it. When Margaret Ekpo led the women, Calabar riot, they followed her and they succeeded. Gabos Waba started the political career. The first novel ever written was written by a Japanese woman, Musara Akati. That is she who led the way. She started. And then the first person, I'm sure we have doctors here. Do you know the woman who advocated for the first terms of cesarean operation? Maria, that's the woman there who started it. A lot women has done, and we continue to do. Next. What is the government doing about women? I need to talk about our government. We are entwined. I look at the government angle, I look at my passion, which I have told you, and I look at who you are as a woman, and what is the government? Some of you will start talking, there is too much Buharia, there is too much hardship. Sit down. In the necessity is the mother of invention. This may be the time for you to lead the way, for you to bring your inner self out. Look at what the government has for women. You know, forget, when they talk, it's not in the other room, neither is it in the kitchen. Now it is in the field. It is in the field. If you want to do that, you can get it. So there are loans that you can access. Find out, educate yourself. There are loans you can access as women, and that's very important. Next, finally, bye-bye. Lead the way. You have done it all. This is my mentor, Doria Ekwile of blessed memory. She is my mentor. Doria Ekwile of blessed memory. I love this woman. She invited me for this talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I should come and speak here. I said I cannot. She said come. So I need you to appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you. Great hugs. Hey. Thank you, thank you. Woo. So much passion, bringing your inner sense out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's the passion. Thank you so much. Didi, are you ready? Thank you.
Can I stand as well? I like Leading the way. That was a very passionate presentation by Zainab. Thank you. Well, good morning, my darling sisters. You're all looking so beautiful. I'm so happy to be here. And after that very passionate speech, I am thinking, what am I going to say? especially as I am a civil servant, and for most people, civil servants are very boring people. True or false? Well, let me start by saying that I believe that breaking the glass ceiling is becoming a pastime with women all over the world. We have several presidents, and even though Hillary didn't get the ticket, she had the most popular votes. And so, I want to agree with the last speaker that we're already leading the way. I want to say straight away that I believe in affirmative action, but I also believe that women have to work very hard to get to where they need to be. I also want to say that I believe that women can shape policy, can lead the way in their communities, in their homes, in their churches, and even in society without ever standing for an election. How, you may want to ask? For me, there's a very simple way that you can lead in society without ever standing for an election. I'm sure you can guess. Become a civil servant. Sounds strange. Okay. Well, I'll just use myself. I'll just tell a little bit of my story, and maybe you discover one or two things. I have been a civil servant since 1992. And I am still a civil servant, but you'll be surprised to hear the things that God has helped me to be being a civil servant and leading in different spheres. One of the things, I'll just give you a quick rundown of my CV. I'm not being immodest, but I want to make a point. As a civil servant, I've been the Solicitor General of a state in Nigeria. I have been the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Justice in a state in Nigeria. I have been Deputy Chief of Staff to a governor in Nigeria. I have been a Commissioner of Science and Technology and Manpower Development in a state in Nigeria. I have been the Chief of Staff of a governor of a state in Nigeria. And I am still a civil servant. Now, you can see that you could be a civil servant and play so many roles and wear so many caps. And of course, that means that in every of these spheres that you operate, you are leading the way. I want to say that another way that you can lead the way without ever standing for an election is by being the spouse of someone who is standing for an election or who is a politician. Or maybe you are the sister or an aunt or a friend. So for me, we women have the best of both worlds. There are so many things that we can do if only we will put our heart to it. If only we will be focused, and if only we will work hard. And I know, of course, we have the problem of balancing our career and family, but that also can be done. It's not easy, but it can be done. I remember something that Elena said, yes. She said, when you're leading the way, there was something said behind you. Okay, you're just taking a walk. Now I want to adapt that. If you're leading the way and you hear clapping, you better turn around to be sure that it is not people leaving you. Footsteps of people leaving you. And so the issue is, how do we lead the way? How? Sister Obi gave 3 things that she said we need to lead the way, and I really agree with her. She said character, competence, and capacity. And I really do believe that that is the way. We've had women who have been in positions of authority, supposed to be leading the way, but either because they fell short in character, or they didn't have the competence, or they didn't have the capacity, and before you knew it, they were out of the way. And so for me, those things are critical if we say we want to lead the way. But then leading the way, is that enough? What about those people I just talked about who are behind you? Who are looking up to you to lead the way? Looking up to you reminds me of something. Well, most people who know me as Didi. But the truth is that Didi is just a pet name from the full name called Diarao. Diarao. And in the Jaw language, Diarao means someone to look up to. And if you are one who believes in the power of a name, I tell you it is real. You know, when I was starting my career, somewhere in the middle, and I had lots of younger people, younger ladies coming to me, with their problems. I mean, at a point, I got frustrated and fed up. Why are these women always calling me, asking me, why me? And I became so frustrated. It was a big problem in my life. Until one day someone came to me and said to me, have you thought of the meaning of your name? And I said, no. She said, well, your name means someone to look up to. And it clicked. I said, oh, that's why these people keep on coming to me, everybody coming to me, everybody coming. So I don't need to be frustrated. I don't need to be irritated. I don't need to be angry. I need to attend to them. And so I thought about it and I said, so how can I attend to them, without having to stress myself out, saying the same thing to Lady A, say the same thing to Lady B, and then Lady C comes along, and I decided I would form a small mentoring class. And so I formed a small mentoring group, and we're meeting in my house once a month, and I called the group Gifted Women.
In effect, is each and every one of us here, we have a responsibility to mentor other people. There's no point being the big CEO, being the great fashion designer, being the, and then you are not sharing this knowledge with anybody. You are not passing on this information to anybody.
And so even though gifted women, well, I relocated and that was the end of gifted women, but I find that in every office that I have held, something that is so dear to me is to be sure that I have people that I am mentoring, people that I am coaching, people that I am speaking to every day. And we know how systems are. At times you could work yourself out in an office, lay down structures, and then when you leave and you ask about that office 6 months after, you are told that everything has gone back to how it was. Do you understand that? Yes. And you know, that got me worried as well. Because the several offices that I have worked in, you know, I asked and it's like, in fact, only recently, a few days ago, I saw someone in the last office I worked in. And he said, you know what? Everyone says, as you left, you just took the office and left. Because you don't think it's happening. But you know what? I wasn't upset. Why? Because I had been thinking about this till someone said, no, don't be upset. It's all about the system. But the point is, what did you deposit there? What did you deposit in the people? And I thought back and I said, yes, everywhere I have worked, people call me much later to say, you know what? You did a wonderful thing in my life. I'm so happy with all that you taught me, and now I'm doing very well in my job. And so that gives me comfort. So I just like to share with us, in closing, that to lead the way is something that, as Zainab said, God has given to us naturally. You are leading the way in your house. You are leading the way in your church. But the point is, how are you leading the way? We need to go back. We need to rejig our methods and our procedures. And most of all, we need to share our knowledge and our information with those coming after us. Thank you.
I also bring greetings from women across the world because, like I said, my passion is to continue to inspire both men and women, but I spend more time with women. And, you know, everywhere I go, they always send their greetings. So I also have 2 charity organizations in Nigeria. There's one for women empowerment, helping with entrepreneurial skills for teachers, for widows, and we have the other one where we're providing educational scholarships for orphans. So that's the second one, and they all send their love to you as well. So that's the first thing. And the last thing, I love chocolate cake. So if at any time I come back to Abuja and I come to your house, please find me some cake. I will be glad to have it. I've been looking around since when started. I saw chicken, I saw bread, legs. Chocolate. You know, when we had the Sita who was talking as the chocolate entrepreneur, I thought maybe she brought some chocolate. And then the lady from Nestle said, maybe they brought some chocolate. But overall, you know, I'm so glad to be here. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to tell the person sitting beside you, the partner you picked. So if you don't have a partner, please make sure you find one. You will tell them your name. If it has a meaning, you tell them the meaning of your name. You tell them a bit about yourself and your favorite thing. So go ahead, you have 1 minute. Please make sure you have a partner. If you don't have a partner, raise your hand, please. Okay, please. You don't have a partner? Any other person without a partner? I've got my chair. Okay, sir, can you put your chair over there? Thank you. 30 seconds to go. Madam, do you have a partner? Come and sit there. Okay, let everybody have it. If you don't have a partner, you don't have sister, please, can you come and sit here? Thank you. Please come forward. Bring it forward for you. No, she's coming. She's coming to meet you. And make sure you do it vice versa. Your name, something about you. 10 seconds left. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Wonderful. I hope you learned something from the other person. I hope you learned something from the other person. Only one person shared. You were meant to do it. So let me give you 30 seconds for you. You didn't share with the other person very quickly. Both of you have shared. Both of you have shared. Okay, it's fine. Some people have you shared? If you haven't shared with your partner, make sure you share. Your name, what it means, something about you. Are we done? Okay, wonderful. Okay, time off. Time off. Time off. Please thank your partner for sharing. Please thank your partner for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Okay. So we're going to do, hello. Thank your partner for sharing. Okay. So let's do a little. I'm not going to continue until. Hello. You can continue the sharing afterwards, okay? Once I come down, please let's finish that. I'm going to kind of wait till I can hear a pin drop. Thank you. So we're going to do a little confidence self-check. And you're still going to do this with your partner. My assistant. Hello? So, your first question to your partner will be this. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, I don't feel confident at all. And 10 being, I am super duper duper fantastic, ocastic confidence. Okay? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being no confidence at all, 10 being super duper confidence, how would you rate yourself? So tell your partner. Are you a 1? Are you a 2? Are you a 3? Are you a 5? Are you a 10? Just tell the number. Okay? What numbers came out? 1? 11? 7? 8? 9? Any minus 1? Any zeros? Any 20? Okay. So I heard between 1 and 10 majorly, right? Okay, your second question. Second question to your partner. What makes you feel less confident and why? So if your number was 1 or 9 or 10 or 8 or 0, tell your partner what makes you feel less confident and why. You have 30 seconds to do that. So tell your neighbor what makes you feel less confident and why. And you always say consistent. Why would you 10? That would be my question. So why 8 and not 10? If you're a 9, why not a 10? Have you shared? Okay. Your third question. Your third question. What makes you feel more confident and why? So we've talked about the less, and now go to the more. What makes you feel more confident? Tell your partner. What makes you feel more confident? What makes you feel at 8, 9, 10? What is it? So I want to give the chance for 3 people to share. 3 people to share with us. Anybody wants to share what makes you more confident? Or what makes you less confident? Does anyone want to share? Yes.
About confidence. Sometimes for me, I set goals for myself. I want to obtain this life at a particular time. And when I'm able to do that.
So when you set a goal and you're able to
More confident.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to share?
But when I really know what I want to do, then I feel very confident. But when I'm not sure of what I want to do, that makes me more confident.
Thank you for sharing. So when she's knowledgeable and very prepared for what she wants to say, she feels super confident. But when you're like, I'm not sure I know the topic, you're shaking. Okay, on this side, who wants to share?
I would say, for me, what makes me feel is good. I don't know how to explain it, but when I go to a place of prayer, I am very sure I feel more confident, so I know whatever it is I'm going for, God is doing it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So reassuring yourself, I call it confidence. When you're confident, you're unstoppable.
Yes.
So one last one, my sister at the back.
Secondly, also, with the experience of being I want to tell myself, whatever I want to do, then I can just have to be able to be ready and it just take a long time to get there. I can lead where it is before, and I won't take it over cancer. And because I'm only with a good way, I have knowledge of and experience, I know what I'm telling you to add value, what we are doing, you start getting out to do something. That's what makes me super confident.
Thanks for sharing. So have a God at your back, knowing what you want, not taking no, being bold to go for what you want, competency as well. I hear all those 5, and the last person.
Everybody is walked up confident, and let me talk about this. Actually, we are all going through this. But when you are listening, when you see sense of but as women of value and confidence and that have sense of belonging, we know that we
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing, because you're taking us into another part of the talk. And what I heard from you is when you feel valued, when you feel like you belong, your confidence rises. But the other thing you said is, we all have confidence. Okay, all right. So let's move on. My assistants are not moving as fast as I want. I need you to keep the focus, okay? So the last thing is, what is your expectation? So we've been here for about 10-15 minutes. We're going to be here for another 1 hour at least. Why did you pick this topic? Why are you in this workshop? What is it that you would like to learn? I just want 3-4 people to tell me.
when I traveled all the way from Kenya because I attended a women conference in Italy. Actually, I got the energy. I believe in myself that I could be a leader. That has also made me to come again to Kenya. I went to the election in Kenya. So that one gives me the inspiration.
Yeah, if she's inside, you tell her.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
I was this yours.
Thank you so much, and I'm sure we're going to hear from you as well. One last, if you haven't said anything, I'm not very close to you. Thank you. And I'll take you out of the back now. Yes.
I just want to ask what everybody else thinks, especially when you have the tools. For me to attend this program, because I know I'm going to get a lot, and again, listen up the great women in the nation. You gain from them, and they will also gain from you, especially being a mother at home. There is something they will share, you will be able to listen to their own. You have a great family.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing. We're stronger together, aren't we? Just tell your neighbor, we are stronger together.
Your question is, what was my expectation before I attended this conference? Honestly, I have attended a couple of conferences, and the issue there had to do with women empowerment and all stuff like that. And at the end, we all dispersed and decided to attend to Israel. So my expectation here today is that, looking at the number of participants that attended this conference, I want to believe that it will not end at the end of this plenary. I want to believe that those of us that have attended this conference, can't we constitute a committee where we can now do a follow-up? Go back, sit down, discuss on how to get to the grassroots. Because the essence of this conference is to touch lives. And there are few of us that are here. A larger percentage of women need to hear what we are hearing here today. So my expectation is that after this conference, can we converge somewhere and take it from there?
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Because at the end of the day, when we step into our purpose, we inspire others to do the same. And if every one of us is stepping into their purpose, guess what? We're spreading the reach. We're spreading the reach. So now I'll be looking to you. Probably I will ask you by tomorrow if that networking is already creating the same forum. Because we are the change that we're looking for. So let's go ahead. We still have time to give more inputs, but we need to go ahead. So who can define confidence for me? What is confidence? What is confidence? Throw out the words. What comes to your mind? Confidence. Throw it out. Boldness. Being yourself. Believing in myself. Believing in what you can do. Self-assurance. Yes.
The ability to believe in yourself because of what you know.
Believing in yourself because of what you know, because of who you are.
Time. Oh, I'm late. It's clock time. It's what we call chronos time. The Greeks call it chronos, clock time. In most of the rest of the world, we talk about time as being a continuum. Okay, the past and the present and the future kind of go together. We talk about the saints being, waiting for us on the other side, as if they're here. In the Semitic world, we talk about the cloud of witnesses. Okay, in the Bible, my favorite book, right? Talk about that great cloud of witnesses, as if they're here. Anytime we come into a room, we bring people with us. We bring 2 or 3, 4, 50 people. My mother had 17 brothers and sisters. Okay, I had some aunties up in there. Okay, we bring lots of people with us. So we think there are 25 people here. No. Okay, there are at least 100 or 200 people in here. Okay, and all of us are standing on the backs, on the shoulders of somebody else who did it for us, right? So gratitude is about a relationship to people, place, and time. Is this making sense? Okay, is this making sense? Okay, when we call on the ancestors, y'all call on the ancestors here? Okay? Okay, when we call on the ancestors, that means something. Okay, we're acknowledging their presence in our lives. So gratitude is the grandparent of all relationships. And I like to say that if you get gratitude right, okay, if you get gratitude right, you get the rest for free. Okay? I have led circles in many, many places around the world. And a lot of people get stuck in their dream, whether it's for their business, their families, themselves, whatever it happens to be, they get stuck because they can't get through gratitude. Okay? They're mad at somebody. They're still holding a grudge. Okay? Well, somebody did something to me, 40 years ago. Mercy. I mean, really? Half your life is spent holding that grudge. Really? Gratitude and forgiveness are connected. Gratitude and love are connected. Okay? So if we get through gratitude, if we can get gratitude right, we get the rest for free. Okay? If we can learn how to thank those people who we thought, maybe did something bad to us, or, we're still dragging that ball and chain around because we're angry at them, or whatever. Get over it. Get over it. God put us here to be in a relationship with one another. Period. Okay? Period. If you grew up in my house, you'd come home with your sad story, me or my 4 sisters, your sad story, and you know what my mom would say? Yes, they said that about Jesus Christ, and He died for us, right? Okay? Get over it. St. Paul says that faith is the evidence of things not seen. Now, how can that be? It's the evidence of things not seen. The evidence of things not seen. The substance of things hoped for. Substance of things hoped for. So God's got it all worked out. We may not be able to see it in the natural, but He's got it all worked out. And our job is to move in faith. Is to move in faith. Say about it?
God.
Love is God. God is love. Yes. 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 I like your look. You're just there. Yes. Yes. How about love? Tell me some more about love. God is love. Anybody here been in love before? A few of us have. Okay. Yeah, you kind of feel different, right, than you do in regular life, right? Okay. When you're in love, you have this, this burning desire, right? And Marian Woodman, she's a Jungian psychologist. She talks about love as being like passion, like a burning passion. And she talks about it using an image of fire. And she said, love is the fire that requires no fuel. Yeah. Love is the fire that requires no fuel. That's what passion does for you. Okay? So you gotta love the dream, okay, that you just shared with your learning partner. You gotta love it. You gotta be on fire about it. And you gotta know that if you have the dream, that it came from somewhere. Okay? We think it's our dream. It's not our dream. God gave us that dream. God is love. Vision. Sometimes we think we have to have all the details of the vision. Wrong. No, we don't have to have all the details. In fact, if we have all the details, it's probably not a vision, it's probably a goal. And you must have faith that God will equip you every step of the way. Okay? So if you have a clear path to your vision, it's probably a goal. Y'all following me? I know my accent may be a little weird. Okay? Makes sense though? Okay? If it looks like a clear path and you know every single little step, it's probably a goal. If it's a vision, you don't have a clue, okay, about how to get there. You may have a vision or a part of the vision, but you won't have every single piece. You don't know who's going to come alongside you once you put your dream out there and support you in achieving your dream. You have no idea. One of the names of God is provider. One of the names of God is provider. God is a provider. Okay? And when we move, providence moves too. When we move, providence moves too. I heard Archbishop Desmond Tutu a few years ago talk about leadership. And he talked about it from his perspective, and he said, leadership is that God is waiting on us. And I said, what? He said, God is waiting on us. He needs our help. He needs our help. So he waits for us to move, and then he moves too. And stuff comes your way and you have no idea. You have no idea. You have no idea who's sitting in the circle, who's going to help you achieve your dream. You have no idea until you put it out there. Until you put it out there.
It's a good place. You know, we must ask questions like this. What next? We should never get to the point where we feel we're there or it's enough. There's always more. There's always more. We have so much richness inside of us that most times it's not the lack of it thereof, but the fact that we're not even harnessing what it is that we already have. So it's a great place to have that question of, you know what next? There's got to be more out there. When I started my journey, that was one of the burning questions. What next? What next? Now let me give you a little background. A lot of people know my brand as Sparkle with Naomi. But at the age of 22, I ran away from home. I went to elope. My father had high blood pressure. He almost died because we're 6. 5 girls, 1 boy. I'm the first girl. So what kind of example with the other 4 girls? It was devastating. If it was the time of social media, that my story would have gone viral because I came from a very good background. I grew up in Southeast Asia. I had traveled the world before 15. But yet, I met a boy. And I said I was in love. And everybody said, look, this guy is bad news. And I said, no, I have to be with him. And I ran away from home. For 9 years, I went to hell and came back. I was abused. When I had kids, they were abused. And the day I said I had enough, I walked away and I didn't look back. So, for 4 years, I was a single mom. Just a couple of days ago, I put a brief of this story on Facebook, and as at the last time I checked, 65 people had shared it. People from Saudi Arabia, UK, US have called me saying, you've given me hope. You've inspired me. You have a story. It's not over until you say it's over. And so for me, when I became a single mom, I could have been bitter. I could have been angry. I got eloped at 22. Before 30, I was divorced. Left with 2 kids, battered and bruised. I left everything. because at that point, I needed to save my head first. Property will come, clothes will come. Apart from the few things I traveled with, nothing was with me. And I started life from the scratch. So after 4 years of being a single mom, I met someone, Richard. This time, of course, everything had to be done the right way. I had reconciled with my parents. That 9 years, I had zero or no contact, zero or very little contact with my family. True life story. I'm giving you this background so you will understand where I am today. And you'll find out that there really is no excuse for greatness. If you say yes, you can, yes, you can. Henry Ford said this, whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you are right. And so for me, it was an I can survive this. So I chose not to be bitter because over time I found out, of course, my ex-husband was abused by his own father. So it didn't stop. And so I needed to get my kids out of there, otherwise that chain won't stop. And of course those boys were already generating some very strong aggression because that was all they were used to. And so a third generation was going to continue. And I said, no, I have to break this. And I came out and healing started. So after 4 years, I met my husband, Richard. Through his 18-year-old nephew, Richard had never been married, had no kids. And people were like, how did you do it? I said, Oluwa is involved. Because I was minding my business, that's the truth. His nephew came to work for me. And after a while, he said, I have an uncle. I almost slapped him. Like, did I tell you I was looking for a husband? Well, this boy won't stop. But of course, now I know it was God orchestrating everything. Because that year, it was the end of 2012. And I just felt something strong in my spirit that the new year was going to come with new things. But I didn't know what it was. But I was just like, I needed to prepare. So I called him, I said, come work with me in my office. Anything I don't need, let's get it out. Come to the house, I want to paint. It was just me and the boys. So I needed some strong guy to move things around. And he was a member of my church who would always like, oh, Sister Naomi, Sister Naomi. So I was like, could you please come and help me? I was always minding my business, kept to myself. I was not interested in anything. I just wanted to take care of me and those kids. And so after a while, he was like, there's this uncle. I said, shut up, what do you know? He said, Auntie Naomi, just say hello, just say hi. Well, hi. And we've been married for 3 years, and we have a son named Samuel, who will be 2 in February. So I had a proper wedding for the first time, and just a few days before my 35th birthday. It was like over 1,000 people. Till tomorrow, that was my parents' wedding, because they called everybody. It was, I restored honor back to them. So it was while I was nursing Sammy that I found Periscope. Because it had been so long that I had a baby. I had to stop everything I was doing. I have a bit of background in events planning. So that hectic work, I really couldn't do it. I had to stay and take care of me. So that's how I found Periscope. And that's how you will get your voice heard with live streaming today. So this is me. And my brand is called the Sparkle with Naomi Company. So everyone who comes in contact with me, I call them sparklers. So hello, sparklers. I love the word sparkle because just like your name, it means the synonyms associated with sparkle includes light, dazzle, glitz, shimmer, glamour. Welcome to class. I'm excited to have you here because a year ago, when I started my journey, even without gaining clarity on what I wanted to achieve, one thing was certain. I wanted to own the platform so that one day I could help others achieve what it is that I have come to achieve in just 1 year. And so the fact that you're alive in this room and listening to me means that my dream has come true. So now it's your turn. I want to help your dreams come true. I don't know what it is you're doing right now, but the truth is, you need to be seen. You need to be heard. You've probably already seen. You've probably already been heard about. But who wants more? Who wants more? I want more. I mean, you can call me Oliver, but I want more. Oliver Twist. I want more, because there's so much more to do. There's so many more places to reach out to. There's so many more lives to impact. Even if you think you've done it all, there are more people out there waiting for your message. And without your connection, without your touch, they can't go to the next level.
We'd like to say welcome to those of you who just started with us after the initial double plenary package. I'm certain that whatever your group interactive was, it was an amazing experience. And for me, without any question, life-changing. Life-impacting, life-changing, and I trust that the point of inflection going from this meeting for every one of us will be one that truly takes us upward, forward, and into realms that are just completely and totally, it's not just you, but everyone around you. So I'm here celebrating everyone and this entire new community, the WIN community in Abuja, Nigeria. Please put your hands together in an appreciation of who you are at this moment that you are seated in. Much more than the moment is the momentum that every one of us carrying forward what we have heard shall begin to implement and to give expression to. So at this point, I would like to respectfully and very happily welcome our sister and our host founder of this WIN program, Christine. Please come up. Oh, well, that three sisters. Let me invite back that three sisters to come up. Charity and Christine. You see, from Norway to Nigeria, there are many celebrities that can happen. Stockholm in Sweden, whatever it is, let's do something new. And everybody remember, what is your WIN expression? Throw it out there. Everybody, let's do it again. 1, 2, go! One more time. 1, 2, go! Everything is in there. Just reach out and catch it.
Thank you so much. You know, when you look at the logo here, the woman, she's holding the world. She's holding it light. It's not too heavy. Sometimes we carry so much responsibility at work, at home, and everything. Other than that, just before I realized the capital of Norway also, I was straight down. So there is, that's a very bad connection. Anyway, we are now in the afternoon of a very rich program. And this session is called Women with Vision. And I think it's very interesting. I think if you don't have a vision, being here today is certainly a good starting point, because all these ideas, listening to so many women in your workshop, can spark something. And sometimes, you know, for some of us, for some of you, vision means maybe you are visual. You see things, you have an idea of where you want to go. But not everyone is like that. Some of you may have, you have a sense, maybe in your belly, maybe it's up, there's that. But that is also what you have to focus, whether it's your vision, something you're sensing, something you know. You know, that's the start of something.
Okay, great. So please let's have Christine to be seated, of course, already Charity is seated. And now, help me welcome, and very, very special welcome, all of these next distinguished members of the panel. We don't have a representative for our justice, no? Okay. So Nancy Idom, broadcaster, presenter, and producer. An award-winning too, but most importantly here for me. Let's put our hands together and welcome Nancy. Nancy here. All right. Let's invite Professor professor from the College of Medicine. Well, she is in every respect a woman of very accomplished achievements, endeavors, and interactions in community, in medicine, and in cancer awareness. Professor Ifeoma Okoye, please let's welcome her. Founder of AGCPM. Yes, indeed. And we have an architect, environmentalist, and author, Thelma. Let's welcome Thelma. Celebrate Rashid Hamza, multi-talented, Abuja-based. People have asked me, well, where are you? I said, well, I mean, Abuja, but my applications are global. So, global applications. Put your hands together for Thelma. Welcome. She's also an author. Wow, shortlisted for the 2011 Nigerian Prize for Literature. So we also have a writer author here. And while I'm in your face, please help me appreciate someone very special to Thelma, who came to applaud her in his own way like no one else can. None other than the sweetheart and husband. Where is he? Like I said, it's good when we have ladies who are leading, but leading with the right kind of guy bringing them on. So congratulations, and this is where we are. Over to Christine.
So, we probably, so the other ladies comment and something with the important.
All right, so we are inviting our sister, Betty Okezie, to please come up, and she's joining the panel. Daughters of Grace, Mother of Mercy. Am I correct? Exactly. Let's put our hands together for our sisters. I love sisters, especially Roman Catholic sisters. You know why? I went to Roman Catholic school in Ibadan, St. Louis, and just last year in Ireland, I got to meet my old school principal, who was able to identify me at the age of middle school age or something like under 15. The fact that she is a gifted communicator. She put it on my testimonial. I was amazed to get to Ireland last year and found out that Sister Principal was still alive at 90. And I met her. That was just for me a beautiful moment.
she loves to look at very beautiful houses. Along Bougainvillea and Alamandas. And so one day she asked her father, Daddy, why is it that some people live in very big houses and others very small houses? Why can't those that live in small houses go get big houses for themselves? And her father, a very wise, intelligent man, whose only regret was not being a lawyer, replied her, my daughter, people who study very hard in school and come up all that they do, live in big houses. And those who found school don't work hard or don't even have the opportunities that I would give you, live in small houses. And that was the beginning of young Thelma's dream. She would study very hard, she told herself, and be one of those people who came first in all that they did. And she would never, ever allow herself to be one of those people that live in small houses. And so she keeps taking interest for reading. When she stumbled across Cinderella, very first story book she ever read, was her magic in written words. And young Thelma got hooked. And she read and read and read. And her mother, a very loving mother and nurse, who has just passed away in her soul rest in peace, was always there to provide her with all the books that she desired. Reading in this way makes you the walkover for little Thelma. And she passed into one of the best secondary schools in Nigeria with her name number 1. During her adolescent years, the Federal Government Girls College in Owerri, the same school, 2 things happened. Young Thelma started writing short stories. And even though everybody who read her story admired her and told her it was nice, interesting, you got talent, Thelma did not see what was so special about writing her imagination. And so she did not take this risk. An action she was to regret later. The second thing that happened was that Thelma got to know that society looks down on women and didn't expect them in certain careers end for men. Engineering got to be easy, and architecture followed. For Thelma, this was a challenge. And so she chose to study architecture over engineering only because of her love for beautiful houses. She loved to see those men turn blue and black when they saw her in architecture. And even though her father dreamed she would be a lawyer, and her mother prayed she would be a medical doctor, young Thelma disappointed them. She knew exactly who she was going to be and the reason why. A fully grown Thelma got admission into Imo State University 2 months after leaving secondary school as a biochemist. And being one of the 2 girls in a class of 27 raised her self-esteem. And she walked with her head so high. Could that be the reason why she was nominated one of the students in the University Constitution Drafting Committee? Thelma left that university with 2 degrees, a BSc and an MS in architecture. But before she left, she met a handsome young person. And they got married in her final year in school. Wow.
notable projects. Government House Northwest of Warri, Grasshopper International State Warri, the rewarding works at Government House of Warri, so many residential houses, shopping centers, hotels, hospitals, and so on. Selma was a lecturer at Imo State University, Department of Architecture, between 1998 and 1999. And between 2000 and 2000, she taught professionals construction management at the postgraduate level. In 2012, she went back to school and got another master's degree in environmental planning and protection.
Pinky Prof. And that's my social media name, which I acquired because the color pink is used to fight cancer, not necessarily breast cancer. And so as I drove home the message of early detection, in order for us to break the cycle of Nigeria enjoying currently, with having the highest mortality globally in cancer, defined by late detection of cancer. I found out in 8 years I've been doing this work that the major threat is that of fear. And I know my 4 years as president kicked off this WIN conference by talking to us about losing your fear. And that's what I preach, losing your fear. And over the years of this effort, I found out that maybe it's better to go without me. Yeah. I found out, I'm a lecturer, so I'm used to talking to a crowd, and my voice carries, I believe. So I found out that I needed to trivialize the issue and cut through that fear and have people begin to have a conversation because they wouldn't even converse with you. If you're sharing flyers and they realize you're sharing flyers of cancer, they're like, this is not my portion. They think they're going to be infected by cancer. And why did I leave the clinic to come out to the population? Because I sat in the clinic as usual doing what you call sick care. And which is what we do as doctors. Wait for people to be sick. Then we cure the sickness. Whereas there are preventive measures to stop you from coming in. And why don't we do more of it? And we had all that information inside our heads, and we assumed the rest of the population had the information. So we sat in our clinics waiting for them. And they didn't know we were waiting for them. They didn't know. And so I wrote a poem. When I stepped out, I wrote a poem. And I said, how would they know if nobody told them? How would they hear? How would they know that there is something proactive that they can do to cut their risk? To have them come in early enough so that after cancer diagnosis, you can live for 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. That is not a death sentence. And I said, we the healthcare providers, it is our duty to go out there and talk to them. And as God nurtured this vision in my heart, He brought to me a platform to utilize to reach the people. He said, you have over 200 million people in Nigeria. How are you going to take the message to them? The only way to do that is to do what? Build an army of advocates. To do what? Pass that message one-on-one. And do what? Take the message to the people where they reside. You don't wait for them because it's a hassle. You're looking for people who are well. And people who are well are not ready to spend money to access care. So you're looking for people who are well to access care, so you need to sell it to them where they reside. So I needed to build an army of advocates. I gave it the word breast without spots. The breast, because we started with breast cancer. The breast is an adornment that God gave to womanhood. By the way, who does the breast belong to? Does it belong to the baby or to the husband? An adornment for womanhood. And this evil disease comes and creates a grotesque image, disfigures it. So we are looking
for breasts without spots. If they have breasts with spots, we find them and we take out the spots. And I said, what a ridiculous name. But it drew attention. And so, when I stepped out, I started gathering collaborations, partnerships, people to work with. Because just like Sister Eleanor said, you're one person. If you're a forest, you're one forest. You need to have more people doing what you do in order to get what you want. I have a passion, I've always had a passion to work with young people because I believe in their creativity and innovativeness. So I built on an infrastructure that is in this country that harnesses young people when they graduate, where they give a service of 1 year. I know we have non-Nigerians here, that's why I'm explaining. The National Youth Corps, we partnered with them. And over the past eight years, we've trained in youth corps camps. The big vision was to be able to access the 36 states and the federal capital territory at the youth corps camps, train them, get volunteers, who will then use it as their CDS and go into the communities and use what we call ready-made crowds, because when you want to gather people, like Charity will tell you, gather people is very expensive and very difficult. So ready-made crowds, marketplaces where women gather for meetings, churches, faith-based organizations, wherever you find them. Mechanic workshops, wherever you find them. Go there, talk to them. Use whatever you have. We have a training manual which we use. However, we could not achieve that. To have it happen in all 36 states and the federal capital territory. Because if we had, we would have been able to infiltrate the 774 local governments. And we put the words in their mouth, which they will use to explain to the communities how they can prevent, live their lifestyles, to reduce their risk, and what they can do to have early detection and access care and how to navigate correctly without going to the wrong person to ask the wrong questions and get the wrong answers, or ask the right questions and get the wrong answers, because this happens all the time. So that's one project. The second project was also defined by looking around me and seeing problems and asking myself, how do I solve it? In the hospital where I work, people lose their lives for mundane reasons. They lose their lives. I saw a woman that had not had a child for 10 years. And the day she was to give birth to her child, the generator was not working. So the incubator could not handle the two babies that she had. By the time the husband was about to go and get the generator and come, the children were dead. And so I said, incubator, generator, can we help? And we formed something for the hospital with a team, saving the lives we can save. And we went hand in hand for 2 years, and we only got 2 million from Mobile. And we bought a mobile ultrasound machine. It was during that period of searching, how can we help the hospital to improve the facilities, that I came across clinical trials and the fact that as a continent, we have data. The data that the world wants. Data that can help us to generate policies that can revitalize our healthcare system. Data that the world battle. We all need to learn how to do an effective relay race through partnerships, collaborations. And that means that the one person you are, you multiply yourself. They become you, and then they become better than you. And it's through that process that I've been able to drive these two initiatives, Breast Without Spot and Clinical Trial Africa Vision 2020. Somebody will say, wait a minute, I thought they said you're a professor of medicine, so how did you get there? Is it through these initiatives? I was running these two initiatives, and I was also making an effort to advance my career. So when I became a professor, everybody was shocked. How did she do it? And when you serve society, you will find that God will come and walk in your vineyard and make sure that He fine-tunes that which is yours, because you are doing that service that affects humanity. Next slide, please. So, I always use this slide to ask, are women beasts of burden? Are they beasts of burden? No. But women are wont to be the last ones that will ever go to seek health care. If the husband is having a headache, she will pull him off to the clinic. The children she will take. When herself, she thinks she's an Amazon. And when a woman lies down that she's sick, know that there is an emergency. So women, I want you to leave this forum and say to yourself, I deserve to pamper myself. I deserve to take care of me. I deserve, because God said, love your neighbor as who? So He pretty supposes you will love yourself. The next slide, please. So, some shoes that have seen better days. Can you help? There are people that are living in ignorance. We need to assist to lift this level of ignorance. And when you arm people with information, you are able to take them to the next level. Next slide, please. So, Africa has a double burden of disease. And on one hand, we were fighting cancer, but cancer shares risk factors with other non-communicable diseases, diabetes, hypertension. And so, what did we do? We now put all of them together. When we call people for screening, we screen not only for cancer, we screen for diabetes, for hypertension, we screen for HIV/AIDS, we screen for hepatitis B, and we are able to advocacy for people to pay to vaccinate their boys and vaccinate their girls against the human papillomavirus that causes 4 different kinds of cancer. Next slide, please. So 3 reasons for increasing mobility: late detection, late detection, late detection. Next one. So clinical trial vision, what is it? To put all Africa on the clinical trial map. How are we going to do this? We are going to lead advocacy to national government and influence their political will, influence their knowledge, and have them do a buy-in. And then we work with stakeholders, work with sponsors, and then the clinical trial consortium of researchers that we are training across institutions and across countries within Africa, all together will form an attractiveness for the region to cite clinical trials in the region. Clinical trials, by the way, is currently a $1 trillion industry. And Latin America, Japan, India caused the vision, and they were able to use it really to improve their GNP. Now, if you look at those slides, which are not showing very well, what it is that is showing is that you can see that early detection is very common in developing nations, whereas late detection is very common in developing nations. And this is the kind of visions we see, both for cervical and that. Next one. I will be rounding up. So, there needs to be learning through education, screening, and vaccination. Next one, please. Next one. Next slide. So, when you enter for a journey, you either go business class and
there are many types of business class, including this. The physician that treats the disease and the one that treats the patient who has the disease. Next one, please. And these are all the army of advocates. Some of the pictures of our training in the marketplaces wherever. Next one, please. Yes, we can. We need to do more of collaborations and partnerships. Next one, please. Then, I'm sure that in some of our places today at lunchtime, we recognize these quantities of food. So, who do we greet their tummy before we greet the rest of the owner of the body? So we need to do something about cutting our risk to NCDs. Watch what we give. Next slide, please. Working mothers are generating obese children. Next slide. We need to let them know. We need to do advocacy with government. NYSC advocates are getting certification for excellence. Next slide. I'm almost through. Next slide, please. Running. So this is my last slide. This one is telling us the one before, please. We rise by lifting others. That's what we are here today to do. We are here to rise by lifting others. All the stories we've heard today has been around assisting to solve community problems. It has not been focused on me and me. It's been focused on others. And then God comes in and takes care of you. So there's this quotation here, which is not showing, it talks about the tool of innovativeness in the hand of somebody that is passionate. And I'm Ashoka fellow. And Ashoka recognizes social entrepreneurs. And that is us at work, even young people in the secondary schools, impacting them early enough. So this issue of late detection and fear, cutting that cycle, breaking the cycle of ignorance. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And what you're saying, that we deserve to take care of us too. We deserve to take care of each of us. We need to remember that in our busy lives. So, sister, I wanted to hear from you because it's something interesting to choose what you have done in your life. Can you share with us a little bit of your journey, please?
Good evening, all. I think we are the luckiest group of people that can exist in this universe. But I think I'm luckier than all of you. I'm luckier because I have the most amazing wife that I'm going to marry again. I'm going to pay her dowry and give her people more things. I'm talking about the charity. She's the one wife in the million. We are proud of you. Thank you so much. Today has been so good. I'm sure some of us have never had this kind of opportunity to hear these stories, these experiences shared. I'm so interested in this because we're talking about leading the way. When we lead the way, who is coming behind us? I don't know how many of us have asked ourselves that question. Thank God in the morning, we are told that if you are leading the way and if you are leading the way and nobody is following you, you are just taking a walk. That's a very good one. I have been lucky enough to be in a school system where I nurture lives for the past 18 years. And you won't believe what experiences I've got from mothers. Mothers who are supposed to nurture lives. When a mother comes to you and asks you, sister, what are you doing about this exam that is coming up? Is the hope you will help our children to pass their exams. All of us here know what I'm talking my life as a teacher, as a head of school, I've tried to tell children, a time will come in your life when you will be on that hot seat alone. I like that program, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? There will be a time in your life when you will be on that hot seat alone. Your friends will tell you, the 50-50 is not there.
Most times you need to confirm what your friend tells you. And if you're not able to confirm, to say, well, this is the truth, this is the answer, so what are we doing to our children? I don't think if I'm talking to the right audience. I believe I'm talking to the right audience because when we're going back home to talk to our women at home, let us nurture the lives of the children God has given to us and not kill their lives. So all these things are what I don't think any of us are giving a thought to this when we encourage all these things that people do today to pass their exams. This is my major concern in life. I've been in schools and I've kept on talking to children. Please, there is so much joy in that work. Try to build your own confidence. That was one of the reasons why I joined that group that talked about confidence. I tried to build this confidence that you can make it. You can become what you want to be in life. As mothers, what are we telling our children? I can proudly say, this is what my father told me. My mother told me today, the one my father told me made so much impact on me. Maybe, I don't know, there's this thing about first daughters and their dads. If you're not the first daughter, I'm sorry. So they're always their dads, maybe first wife, not the first wife. So my dad came in one evening after their kindred meeting, and around 11 p.m. he woke all of us up, told us to go and wash our face. If you're still sleeping, wash your face. And then he told us that our kindred people are having a meeting on how to invite somebody to come and do one kind of thing for them to find out what their problem is in their kindred, that they're not moving forward. And he told us, listen, I don't have any problem. The only problem I have is illiteracy. I didn't go to school. I don't have any certificate. If I had a certificate, I wouldn't have been at the level I was at the Ministry of Agriculture when I was working there. That was what he told us. And then he told us, if you ever want to be anything in life, embrace education. Embrace education. And that has been at the back of my mind in everything I've ever done in life. Today you find out people going from one church to another looking for miracles, looking for healing, looking for liberation. You are still under the clutches of your illiteracy. You didn't go to school and you want money to fall from heaven. It doesn't happen that way. I tell children, see, if I see you right there on the floor, you're not making any effort to climb up, I will leave you to remain there. I need a little effort that you're trying to stretch out to reach a window. Now, when I see that little effort in you, I'll push you up. But when you're not doing anything, no way. So I don't know how much we try to tell our young generations today that hard work pays. Everybody in this hall today believes in hard work. That's why you are. I don't know, but we owe our younger generations a lot of things. And if we don't change their mentality, the present day mentality of get it quick, get it the shortcut, there are shorter ways of getting it. If we don't change that mentality before leaving this world, I mean, if I'm God, I've just sent everybody back. If you don't succeed in at least changing one person's mentality about success in life, you have not done anything. You have not done anything. Funny enough, there was something one of my students in school wrote on Facebook. I tried to follow them up. And when I got
commented on that, she said, Sister Betty, please don't even go there. Everything I am today, I got from you. I was shocked. Because I was trying to comment what she said, her mentality, the way she reasoned about a particular issue. There are so many ways we can impact. Please, not just your own children. You may have very perfect children, but that Nigerian child, that African child, that child out there, directly or indirectly, is connected to you. You may never know what that child will do in your life. Please, this just the message I want to pass. And then, finally, I want to tell all of us, most times we find ourselves in a very difficult situation where people don't appreciate us. No matter what you do, nobody appreciates you. You are lucky if somebody tells you, oh, you are good, you are doing very well. You are lucky. There's some people, even when you try to kill yourself for them, you believe that you have another life somewhere that you go and pick up after dying for them. There are some people, when you try to lift them from the ground, they say, who knows what she's going to get from lifting us up. We are here talking about leading the way and how to help people. And I'm telling you, all the challenges you will meet when you go out there to help these people, they will see it another way. Instead of appreciating it, they will look at your own gains. Who knows how much money she's going to make by presenting her problems to these people. When you give them 5,000 naira, they will try to look, see how much you have put in your own pockets. Now please, the message I'm giving to all of us is this. Don't ever allow whatever they say to stop you. You are unstoppable. Now what gives you this courage? What gives you this push? Is the love you have for yourself. I have a resolution. My resolution is to stop living for people and start living for myself. Yes. All my life from the cradle, I've lived for others. I've never lived for myself. Now when I entered primary school at the age of 5, they went to enroll my cousin in the school. And I jumped in that same school. Fortunately enough, I won't forget it. My godmother is here present, Lady Charity Ejogu. She was in that school the time I was enrolled in the school. Mama, stand up. That's my godmother. Now, after that enrollment, what did I hear? Each paper I see, I read. I read everything written on paper, whether I understand what I read or not. Until my mom became so worried that people were going to make me blind once they noticed that I read everything on paper. But then, from that time, she started calling me Adam Soka, Ada Cambridge. And of course, she has given me that title. I cannot disappoint her. I have to get to Soka. I don't know where Soka was. I don't even know what they do there. And thank God, at least I ended up being a lioness. Now, after that, the next thing, my dad started his own. Whatever you do, be careful. You are my first daughter. Everybody's looking up to you. Ooh. So because of that, at home, I was always a very good girl. I don't talk. I don't play around anyhow. And the next thing I saw, I don't even know how I ended up in the convent. So don't even ask me what took me to the convent. I don't know. Up till now, I don't know what I'm doing in the convent. But I tell God, it's better I don't know, because maybe the day I know what I'm doing in the convent, I'll get back my destiny. So now I go to their gate, she came down and said, "Sister, thank you very much." I turned and said, "Sister, sorry, I didn't do it for you. I did it for myself." She said, "How?" I said, "I would have been very sad if I had kept you at our gate when I know that I have the strength to drive you all down this way." So, if you benefited from what makes me happy, you are lucky. So, if you have that zeal, if you have that drive to make people live well, to make people have a new life, if that's what makes you happy, go ahead and do it. Don't even look at them how they respond to it. The most important thing is that it makes you happy. So, if I see you and I smile at you, I greet you, if you respond, fine. If you don't respond, it's not my business. I'm happy doing it. Thank you.
As an architect, a project coordinator, and a team leader in the building industry, for me, leadership is inspiring and motivating my team members, influencing them through my passion, my commitment, my expertise, my friendship, in order to get them to give in their best to the work that we are doing, so that we can achieve projects of the highest possible standards within time and budget limits, and to the total satisfaction of our clients and the organization we are working for.
I was thinking about you, you're doing so many projects. You're so enthusiastic. Where do you get where do you fuel your passion? I mean, how do you relax? Where do you get all that energy from?
I tell people that what I do, I'm so passionate about it. It's like being on cocaine 24/7. You know, like when I go to the rural communities and I touch the life of women through giving them information. They have this August meeting in the East, and at times you have 3,000 women, and you're there, and you're giving them mundane information. And you're looking around the hall and you're seeing the awe with which they're looking at you. In fact, there were many occasions when after talking, the women were supposed to go for lunch. If you realize that these are rural women who don't get to get that kind of lunch on a daily basis, they would have preferred the lunch. But they prefer to line up, to ask questions. I have long lines and the lunch is going, but they say, go and have your lunch, and they wouldn't budge. And they have so many questions. And at times, it's the long distance out of where I live and I have to leave. And as I'm going, there is this emotion inside of me. And you know, you can't buy it with money. I feel, you know, a kind of self-worth of what I have been able to do back. And I feel it's a little sacrifice that is demanded of me. And because I always see it as a little sacrifice, at times I end up sleeping like 2 hours. What I've told you I'm doing here is just like 1/3 of what I do. I do so many others. I do marriage, registry in Nigeria. And sometimes when you read, someone might think there's no way I can do that. I lead a clinical trial consortium of researchers made up of professors across universities. And sometimes in the chat room they are quiet. I have to be
begin to pull up their desire to do what we are there for. So you lead by example. When you're leading, it's not easy. You cannot rest on your hours because you need to be motivating. You need to be motivational. You need to give people why they are where they are. And you need to give them targets. And you need to drive them to meet the targets. But I'm not a slave driver. I live by being friendly. For instance, in that platform, I always am careful to address them as my esteemed Einsteins. And I tell them I'm expecting the next Nobel Prize winners to be from here. And in the same way that I work with the research team, I work with the young people. I have a young research team, and I have the older team. Then I have in my own department, we have residents. And in that residency training, what I did was I deliberately in the early years, and all the residents that came in were under my care, and I would just pour myself in time. My target is to create another me and a better me. And at the end of it, you know what happens? I free myself because I know I have excellence. What I can do and do it even better. So, like I'm sitting here today,